Welcome to the Power with Women tape series. I'm Ross Jeffries, and I want to congratulate you on your decision and commitment to get these tapes and make some incredible changes in your ability to be successful with women. I'm very excited and proud to be bringing you the technologies in these tapes. I honestly believe that they are the very best in the world, and there's nothing that could even come close to touching them. So let's get started right away by making a few distinctions. First, I want you to know that these are not passive listening tapes. They're designed for your active participation. So if you're listening to these tapes in your car, that's okay, but at some point you're going to have to sit down and listen again, this time with a pen and some paper in hand, and you're going to have to do the exercises. Let me repeat that last phrase, do the exercises. If you'll do these exercises and practice them for about 10 to 15 minutes a day for the next 2 to 3 weeks, you'll start to see the kind of results with women that will make your wildest dreams look like a joke. So now I got to ask you a question. Is having unlimited success with women for the rest of your life worth taking 10 to 15 minutes for the next 2 to 3 weeks? If the answer is no, please put these tapes back in the box they came with and send them back for your full refund. If the answer is yes, get ready for the adventure of your lifetime. Okay, so what's the real key to power and success and confidence with women? I know this is what you've been waiting for. Here it is. It's your frame of mind. That's it. In the right frame of mind, you can do anything. And you've probably already experienced that yourself in some area of your life. Suddenly something just kicks in and you find yourself doing something amazing that you normally never could do. Maybe you even look back at it afterwards and you said, gosh, was that me who did that? Has that ever happened to you? Maybe it's even happened once in a while with women, but you just couldn't ever seem to repeat it, or you're only able to do it haphazardly once in a while. So what I would like to do is to show you how to be in the most powerful, juicy, sexy, exciting frame of mind all the time whenever you're dealing with women, considering dealing with women, or reviewing your dealings with women. That's when you start getting into some real fun, when your life becomes the kind of stuff they write movies about. So here's power principle number 1. I want you to write it down at the top of that piece of paper in huge letters. Better still, write it in the inside of your mind. Here it is. If I want a frame of mind, I must rehearse it. If I want a result, I must rehearse it. The basic principle here is that if you don't give your brain something to do in a situation, it's going to pick something. And what it picks usually isn't what serves you best. In fact, what it's almost always going to do is just pick what you've been doing all along. Now, doesn't that make sense? That's how people stay stuck for years. The challenge is that most of us spend our time rehearsing things that don't make us feel too good. And we're not even aware that we're doing it. Now, let me give you an example of that. I had a client come to me, and I have clients coming to see me from all over the country. And this guy said, you know, Ross, I do okay getting myself into a bar, but as soon as I spot a woman I'm attracted to, I get totally scared and I have to run out of there. Now, he wasn't kidding. He literally had to run out of the bar. Now, needless to say, this guy wasn't enjoying himself too well. So I said to him, look, I want to punish myself a little bit. I want to be you for a weekend, so I need to know how to have this problem. Because I don't know how to scare myself when I want to meet women. When I see a woman I want to meet, it's just, hey, go for it. So, can you tell me how to do it your way? What do I have to do on the inside of my mind to make myself scared? So here's what he told me. And you may have some trouble believing this, but this is what he told me. He'd walk into a bar and look around till he spotted the best-looking woman there. And then he'd say to himself, God, she's cute. Okay, so far so good, right? Nothing scary in that. Here's what he'd do next. He'd make a great big movie in his head of her humiliating him, just rejecting him with the most vicious look on her face. And then he'd see in his mind a picture of everyone in the bar pointing their finger and laughing at him. And then he'd see himself walking out of the bar with his head down. Now dig this part. As he got closer to the door, that picture of him would get smaller and smaller till he shrunk down to nothing. Now, can you see how this might have caused this guy a little bit of a problem? He was rehearsing all right, but it wasn't exactly the most useful thing to rehearse. I'm wondering if any of this maybe sounds a little bit familiar to you. Is this maybe something you've been doing? So look, what we're going to do with these tapes is show you how to take control of what you're running through your brain so you can build some enormously powerful frames of mind. Stuff that's just incredibly juicy, that makes meeting and seducing women fun. See, I want to take you beyond confidence and make it into the realm of fun. See, it just makes sense. If you're going to be on autopilot, why not build an autopilot that flies the plane smoothly instead of one that crashes it into the ground? Doesn't that just make sense? So let's get started by looking at the attitudes and the beliefs you need to be incredibly successful with women. That's a big part of your frame of mind. By the way, I got these from studying guys who were incredibly successful with women, but didn't have looks or money or any of those other things that most people think you need. That's a good way to learn to do anything, by the way. Just look at someone who's already getting the result you would like to have and find out what they're doing. So here they come. Here's power attitude number 1, and write this down. Being with me is the best possible choice that any woman could make. Now, does that seem a little bit arrogant? Well, look, one of the major challenges you're going to face with women is they're uncertain. They're ambivalent. They don't know what the heck they want. That could be for a million reasons. Maybe you're not her type physically, which, if you're not the best-looking guy, you're going to run into a lot. Maybe she just got burned by a guy. Maybe there's some guy she's in love with, but he doesn't even know she exists. It could be anything, okay? The odds are, if you haven't encountered this, trust me, you will. So here's a major rule in human behavior. Write this one down. You don't overcome another person's uncertainty by being uncertain about yourself. You overcome it by being totally certain that being with you is the best possible choice that they can make. Doesn't that just make sense? Now here's the funny thing. If you start believing it, or at least acting like you believe it, other people will too. People are kind of like sheep. They'll go right along with you if you believe in yourself. Now, can you prove that it's true that being with you is the best possible choice that any woman could make? Of course not. Hey, this is not about whether these beliefs are true. They're about useful positions to approach people from. It's not a description of the way the world really is. It's a perceived position. Now, if you don't want to get into understanding that distinction, that's okay. You don't need to. Just realize that holding this belief and acting as if you believe that way is going to get you some powerful results. Now, here's power attitude number 2. Put this one in big old letters. I never get rejected. I only discover if a woman has good taste. Boy, now we're really getting arrogant, aren't we? Are you starting to feel better? Can you imagine if you went to a party with just these 2 attitudes floating around in your head? Do you think maybe you'd approach women a little bit differently? Heck yeah, you would. See, the reality is in the real world that you're not always going to be desired by every woman you want. You're going to miss a few, okay? The thing is, once you accept that and turn it into something funny, it loses its power to hurt you or stop you. Write this down as a side rule. What I resist persists. What I accept, I gain power to use. It's a paradox, but I'm here to tell you that there's an enormous power in paradox. Always look for it. So, the best way I know to accept something is to use your sense of humor and turn it around and look at it in a different way. Now notice something here. What happens if you combine this attitude with the first attitude, that being with you is the best choice you could make? Maybe if she rejects you or says no, not only will you not get upset, maybe you'll decide that she deserves a lot better than to have someone terrific like you walk away from her, and you'll change your approach and try another way to get her to wake up to the wonder that's about to come into her life. Power attitude number 3. You never know what physical type a woman will go for, so you always go for it congruently and powerfully. I know so many guys who talk themselves out of taking action because they assume they know what type of woman likes and that they're not it. By the way, have you ever noticed that usually these assumptions are all in the negative? Very few people walk around assuming that they are a woman's type. Look, listen to me. Open your ears on this one. You can't tell. I know women who are bodybuilders who could snap me in two like a dried twig. And by the way, I'd probably enjoy that. and these women can't stand big, muscular guys. Thank goodness they like tall, skinny guys like me. I know women who wouldn't go near a blonde surfer type, and other women who only date blonde surfer types. Some women don't care what you look like, but they do care an awful lot about what shape your bank account is in. So look, rather than talk yourself out of something great, just assume the truth, which is that you don't know, and you're going to go for it anyway. Power attitude number 4. Never attach excess meaning to being accepted or rejected. Okay, you're probably scratching your head right about now and saying, Ross, you were making some sense up to now, but you've just lost me. Here's what I mean. Have you ever been in a situation where you were in a slump? Maybe you hadn't had a date in quite a long time, and then suddenly some woman appears to show some interest in you. What happens? Do you stay calm and collected and determined to do what will work? Heck no! You're probably chomping at the bit. You can't wait to go out with her. Probably what happened is you were so eager that you wound up pushing her away by being so needy and dropping even deeper into your slump. Does this sound a little familiar? Has this maybe happened to you over and over again? This is how slumps tend to stay around for a long time. They're self-perpetuating because of this. What's going on here? What's going on is that the meaning you attach to being successful with a girl who showed that interest isn't, hey, I might get some pleasure here. Great. Let's relax and enjoy it. No. The meaning you attach to it is, God, someone finally likes me. God, if I get this girl, it proves I'm attractive after all, and all those other girls were wrong, and it means my luck has finally changed, and this horrible slump is over with. Hey, you can't do that and be successful with anything. Why? Because it screws up your judgment, it screws up your timing, and generally makes you someone no one wants to be around. If I'm being a little strong here, I'm not trying to pick on you, although picking on people can be fun. I'm trying to get you to see what your pattern's been so you can break it and do something else and get a much better result. So, don't attach excess meaning, particularly if you're in a slump. The way out of the slump is to get to that place inside of yourself of being determined to practice the fundamentals and to do what works. To come from that place of being consistently powerful, with the knowledge that consistency is going to pay off sooner or later, and probably sooner in a very major way. Now, of course, there are other ways to attach excess meaning besides the slump example. There are a lot of ways to screw yourself up. Here's one. Have you ever been at a party and you found yourself relaxed and having a good time, being friendly and having no problem meeting people? Maybe you even had no trouble introducing yourself to some of the women who were there, when suddenly a marvelously attractive, incredibly gorgeous woman walks into the room. Now, what happens to your ability to just walk right up and introduce yourself? Does it maybe go right out the window? Whoosh! Well, in addition to probably having some internal representations that aren't too helpful, and we'll talk about that a little later, probably what you were doing was attaching some excess meaning to being accepted or rejected by that goddess across the room. You didn't just think, wow, she's gorgeous. Let's go meet her and we'll either get what we want or we won't. I'm willing to bet if you found yourself hesitating, what you were thinking, at least at some level, was more like, wow, look at her. If I get her, that proves I'm a real man. That proves I can be successful with any woman, anytime, anywhere. That'll mean that from then on, any other woman will be a piece of cake for me. In other words, you assume that because she's a beautiful woman, she's an expert on what's beautiful or attractive for every woman. Well, no wonder you're having problems. Again, if you make another person that important, you're just asking to get in your own way. And it's probably going to make the other person pretty uncomfortable too. So again, the best attitude to take is don't attach any excess meaning to it. And just think, hey, I'm either going to get what I want from this particular person at this particular moment with this particular approach at this particular point in time, or I won't. And again, that doesn't rule out changing your approach and trying another way another time. By the way, there's a tremendous power in being persistent without being pushy. People just aren't used to that. They're used to someone either pushing them or giving up and going away. So it's very appealing and a massive interruption as to what they're actually expecting. Here's power attitude number 5. It's basically just a realization that applies to all people, but here it is. If a woman wants me a little bit, she'll want me a lot more if she has to work to get me. This is simply the old idea that if you're too available, you're going to get taken for granted. Now, it's not true that people want what they can't have. I can't have an elephant come over to my house and crush my head, but I don't want it either. I hope none of you do either. It's that if they want something a little bit, they'll drive themselves into wanting it like crazy if they have to work to get it. This is why you always seem to do so well when you're not interested in a woman, but she is interested in you. Because you're not working to get her, she's got to do the work, and it makes her even more interested. Now, doesn't that just make sense? So, use this principle of selective reinforcement to your advantage. You don't have to necessarily like that this is the way it is, but it's to your advantage to accept it and use it. Remember, what you resist persists. What you accept, you gain power to utilize. Part of this is also the willingness to walk away. It's the attitude, hey, you want to be with me, honey? Great. If not, get the heck out of the way, because there's a lovely young lady standing right behind you who does. You see, sometimes the only thing that's going to work in any situation in life is just to walk. And what often happens is the person really doesn't realize how much you meant to them until after they thought they've lost you. Now, the trick is to do this without being punishing or nasty, because then you close the door on them forever and they can't come crawling back to you. But you can learn to walk away calmly, matter-of-factly, and it has enormous impact. Now, a friend of mine who fixes computers was working on my Macintosh, and he said something to me that really hit home. He said that about half the time when there's something wrong with a computer, the way to fix it is to just turn it off for a few minutes and then turn it back on, and it will work again. Now, sometimes women can be like computers. You just have to shut them down to get them working again. And the other thing is that confidence really is a two-way street. Look, the ability to walk away from someone who's wasting your time dramatically increases your ability to approach someone who you'd like to meet and take out. They're both part of believing that you can get what you want. Does that make sense? That's why I always say to guys who call me with a question about a woman who's giving them problems, hey, would you be so willing to stick with this girl if you knew you could go out tomorrow and meet 10 new women? Of course, the answer is always no way. Now, here's the final power attitude, and it's basically recognizing that you don't need to win all the time. Someone once asked one of these famous multi-billionaires, I don't know whether it was Rockefeller or J.P. Morgan, but one of these super rich guys, they said, what was your secret to being so successful in business? And the multi-billionaire answered, I was wrong more often than I was right, but I was wrong small, and I was right tremendous. That's the attitude you want to take with women. See, you're going to be wrong far more often than you're right, but you're going to be wrong tiny, and you're going to be right tremendous. All right, so now that we've given you the 6 power attitudes, we're going to wrap this tape, or at least this side of this tape, up by giving you a practical tool you can use to start installing these and other attitudes in yourself so you find yourself living them and using them automatically. See, it's not enough just to know what to do. You've got to wire it up so it's available immediately, right when you need it, without having to think about it. You see, this is not positive thinking. The problem with positive thinking is that usually by the time you've stopped to think positively, the opportunity has already passed you by. So, let me introduce you to a tool called affirmations. This is a tool that's extremely powerful if you know how to use it properly. Otherwise, the problem with affirmations is they don't work. So let's show you how to do affirmations the right way. Here's the right way to do them in a few steps. Step 1, get yourself into a relaxed state. Take a few deep breaths. Close your eyes. Make sure you're in a posture and breathing pattern that will help you to absorb all of this. Step 2, you're going to say to yourself, and that means on the inside of your head, not out loud, you're going to say to yourself on the inside 3 times, my mind will keep these commands in my memory permanently and all the time and make everything necessary for them to happen. Step 3. Say each affirmation out loud 3 times, making sure you use the right tonality. That's critically important. I had a guy call me up. I get calls all the time from fans all over the country. I had a guy call me up and say, gee, Ross, I'm saying the affirmations, but they don't seem to be having any effect. Well, you gotta use the right tonality. For example, this is wrong. You're aggressive, direct, and powerful with the women you desire. This is right. You are aggressive, direct, and powerful with the women you desire. So, can you hear that difference there? All right. Now, the last step is to repeat to yourself. Again, you're going back on the inside of your head. So this is on the inside, not coming out of your mouth. You repeat to yourself 3 times these words. Let these commands be fulfilled. So here comes the affirmations. Affirmation number 1. You are aggressive, direct, and powerful with the women you desire. You radiate a confidence, self-control, and charm that women find irresistibly attractive. Affirmation number 2. Your mind is focused on what you desire. You go for what you want congruently and powerfully. Affirmation number 3. You never know what physical type a woman will go for, so you always go for it congruently and powerfully. Affirmation number 4. You take immediate advantage of your opportunities with women. You swiftly establish incredible rapport. Gather the information that you need, then close with aggression, power, and finesse. Affirmation number 5. You radiate a natural, easy self-acceptance that women find irresistibly attractive. Affirmation number 6. You safeguard your morale and self-esteem at all times. You swiftly size up a woman's potential and eliminate those who are wasting your time. And the final affirmation, affirmation number 7. You are mastering the responses, attitudes, behaviors, insights, and timing that are bringing you irresistible power with the women you desire. A couple of more things to make this work. Don't tell anyone what you're doing. People may tend to give you some funny looks. And make sure you can do this uninterrupted. Finally, don't try to help the affirmations along by forcing your behavior to change. You'll find yourself just automatically doing the right thing. Okay, that concludes side 1 of this tape. Your homework for day 1 today is to review the power attitudes and do the affirmations. That concludes side 1 of this tape. Please turn the tape over, rewind, and get ready to listen to side 2 tomorrow. See you then. Welcome to day 2. Let's get to the power of internal representations. Now, internal representations are just the way you picture things and talk to yourself on the inside of your head. Now, the thing is this. Most of the time, we're not even aware of what we're doing between our ears. This stuff runs on autopilot, like the client I was telling you about on the first side of the tape. So what I want to do is show you how to build a better autopilot. Again, if you're going to have an autopilot, You might as well have one that flies the plane smoothly where you want it to go instead of crashing it into the ground. Doesn't that just make a lot of sense? So, let me show you something you can do right away to take control of your internal representations immediately. Here's what I want you to do. Close your eyes. And if you're in a car, obviously pull over somewhere first and stop. Close your eyes and see yourself looking powerful and confident. By the way, for those of you who have a challenge with visualizing, just imagine you're visualizing. I once had a client who told me he had imaginary anxiety. I told him, stop imagining it. So just imagine you're visualizing. You see, everyone can visualize. Just for some of us, it's more out of our conscious awareness. If you don't believe me, let me ask you a question. What color is your car? If you don't have a car, what color is your front door? Ah, good. Now, how do you know that the answer is correct? Did you maybe see a picture in your mind? Okay. Now, close your eyes. And let's go back to that image of you looking powerful and confident. Just make that image of yourself powerful and confident and in control. This is the you who has all those power attitudes we discussed earlier. The you who believes, who knows that being with you is the best possible choice that any woman could make. The you who doesn't attach excess meaning, whose attitude is, hey, you want to be with me, honey? Great. If not, get the heck out of the way, because there's someone standing right behind you who's even better looking than you are, who does want to be with me. This is the you whose mind is focused on what you desire, who goes for what you want, congruently and powerfully. That's right. Just keep looking at that image. Feels better already, doesn't it? Now, as you just keep looking at that image, watch what happens as you make it 40 feet tall, like you're looking at on a drive-in movie screen. That's right. And notice how that changes how you feel even better about it. Now watch this. As you're still seeing that image, I want you to take that image and tilt it back about 20 to 30 degrees away from you. Just lay it back about 20 to 30 degrees away from your face. That's right. And notice how when the picture in your head gets laid back, you start to feel laid back. And by the way, being laid back in your mind is a key to being laid in other ways. Now, isn't that weird? Look again at that image, 40 feet tall, powerful, and confident, laid back 20 to 30 degrees, and ask yourself, could you even imagine that one getting upset if some silly girl didn't return his phone call? How would he react to that? No big deal. Plenty of fish in the bar. How would he react if some girl didn't want to dance with him? Oh well, her loss. How long would he hesitate if he saw some woman he wanted to meet? I bet you not even for 1 second. Now, I don't want to suggest that if you pictured this kind of thing to yourself whenever you went out to meet women, that it might change how you feel and acted. That's not possible, or is it? You wouldn't really want to feel that way all the time, would you? Of course you would. See, you don't have to lie on a couch for years and cry about your childhood and look for reasons why you're broken. That's just going to keep you broken. Just take control of what you're doing in your head and change it that fast. So watch. What we're going to do is we're going to make this even better, because I like to deliver bang for the buck. So look at that image again. Just allow yourself to see it now. 40 feet tall, powerful, confident, laid back 20 to 30 degrees. Now throw in some lightning and thunder and listen to that 40-foot tall, thunderous voice you use when you speak from that place. That's right. And enjoy the power of having that incredible control over your tone of voice and the tempo of your voice. And I bet you're starting to feel really great. Hey, guess what? Change can be fun and feel great. Not only can you do it fast, it doesn't have to hurt. So here comes another one. Allow yourself to see that powerful, confident, 40-foot tall image again. And I want you to take that image of yourself being 40 foot tall and just for a second, turn it around so you see it from the back. Just allow yourself to take a moment to do that. Turn it around so you see it from the back. So you see the back of yourself, the back of your head, etc. Now take that image and raise it above your head. And now drop it down on top of yourself. And look down at the world through those 40-foot tall eyes. And hear that thunderous voice in your head. And now see in front of you some really hot, sexy girl you'd like to meet. That's right. You can see her now. And over one of her shoulders, see that image again of that powerful, confident you, 40 feet tall, laid back 20 to 30 degrees. And over the other shoulder, I want you to see an image of you and her later on in the evening, or maybe the next night, really getting it on like crazy. I want you to see a big, bright color movie of that over her other shoulder. And now, hear that powerful, thunderous voice in your head saying, look at that. Let's go give her a chance to get to know me. Let's be nice and give her a chance to meet me. And as you're doing that, I want you to zoom in on some part of her body that you really like. Just pick out that body part and just zoom in on it. And now, try in vain to hesitate or feel nervous as you hear that voice in your head saying, how much pleasure can I stand with this woman tonight? Let's go for it. Go ahead. Try to feel shy as long as you keep seeing all of that and keep saying all of that to yourself. You just can't do it. The only thing you can feel powerful and aggressive and sexy and confident. Now wait a minute. I've just proved to you that you can make it impossible to ever have your problem ever again. If we can do that by just listening to a dumb tape one time, how are you going to be after you've been practicing visualizing this for a few weeks? Listen, you're going to be unstoppable. Do you think that maybe women will respond to you differently if you're walking around with this kind of thing in your head? Gosh, I kind of think so. Hey, we're just getting started. Now, one point I do want to bring up. Some of you might have still felt a little hesitation. But let me ask you, was it fear or was it just a legitimate request for more information? A legitimate desire to know what to say and do next? See, I've been doing this for a while, and we are going to show you how to totally cover that as well, so you're prepared with exactly what to say. Now, I just bet that you felt whatever small hesitation there was leave completely, didn't it? So, here's your rehearsal homework for day 2. And by the way, let me say something. You may be thinking to yourself, gee, this side of the tape is a little bit short. Well, it may be short in duration, but in terms of the importance of what I'm showing you, it's critical. I don't want to overload you, which is why I just want you to do this little bit for this day. So here's your rehearsal homework for day 2. Step 1, close your eyes and see that powerful, confident self-image, 40 feet tall, lean back 20 to 30 degrees. Step 2, turn him around so you can see him from the back. Raise him up above yourself, right above your head, and drop him down on top of yourself. Step 3, look out through those 40-foot tall eyes and hear that thunderous 40-foot tall voice you use. Step 4, see through those 40-foot tall eyes a gorgeous girl you'd like to have. Step 5, over one of her shoulders, see that powerful 40-foot tall you again. And over the other, I want you to picture a movie of you and her getting it on later on in the evening. Step 6, as you keep seeing all of this, I want you to hear that 40-foot tall voice in your head saying, look at that. I'm going to have that tonight. Let's give her a chance to get to know me. Step 7, Zoom in on that part of her body that you really like and hear that voice in your head say, go for it. Step 8. Notice how totally empowered and motivated you feel. Okay? So your homework for day 2 is to do the first day's homework again, do the affirmations, and do this new homework, the associated state rehearsal. That concludes this tape. Please do your homework for today, and tomorrow we'll join you on the next tape. Welcome to day 3. So are we starting to feel kind of different? Maybe you even went out into the real world and tested this stuff out. So let's show you how to do some more rehearsing in a slightly different way. We're going to show you how to rehearse being totally comfortable and absolutely at ease, meeting women anywhere you want to, anytime. There are just a couple of points to bear in mind. First, if you're going to rehearse, you want to do it with enough detail so that your brain has a plan to follow, but with enough room for you to improvise in case something that you didn't plan on comes up. That just makes sense, doesn't it? Things don't always go the way we expect, and sometimes it's even more fun to throw in a few unplanned twists just to see what happens. Point number 2. When you're meeting lots of women, when you know you can go out any night of the week and attract some dynamite females, it adds a lot more power to any current relationship you're in. Because again, a woman who knows that you can walk away from her is always going to want you a heck of a lot more than a woman who knows she's your only option. So, not that I think I have to sell you on having the ability to instantly attract women wherever you find yourself, but again, it helps to know the purpose of an exercise. So I call this building a film strip. And here's the way it works. If you own a camera, and even if you don't, you know that when you take your film in to be developed, they give you back the developed film, and they also give you back a strip of negatives, and it's on very flexible film, that strip of negatives, so if you wanted to, you could fold it around and form a circle, right? Does that make sense? So here's what I want you to do. I'd like you to pick a location or a context where you'd like to be able to meet women easily and powerfully. Maybe it's a supermarket, or driving in your car, or at the beach, or in a bar. Wherever it is, the first step here is just to pick out a location or a context. That's easy enough. Okay, now, for the first slide in this film strip, what I want you to see in your mind is the very first thing that would let you know that you're in that location or situation about to meet a woman. For example, if you picked a bar, then maybe what you'd see in your mind is yourself walking in the door, and across the room, a woman you'd like to meet, okay? And by the way, make sure that these are all slides. They're still pictures, not movies. And that in every one of them, you see that powerful, confident you from the last exercise, okay? All right, so see that first slide, and now push it aside, and in the next slide, I want you to see the next logical step in the sequence of meeting and seducing that woman. Maybe it's you and her talking face to face, and make sure you see that you're both smiling and really enjoying each other's company. We want to make these pleasant. See, if I was a therapist, I'd help you to make painful pictures so you could feel really lousy and keep coming back to me and paying me more money, and all the while I'd be blaming you for not changing. But I'm a neurolinguistic programmer, and everything we do is fun, okay? So, push that picture aside, and for the next picture, see the next logical step. Maybe it's you and her sitting at a table over dinner, or whatever you pictured being your first date. If you're really bold, you could see a picture of the two of you as you're walking out the door together to go home with each other that night. It's up to you. It's your life. Make it as exciting as you want. Okay? Now, push that picture aside and go to the next step. maybe it's you and her making out on the couch like crazy. This is starting to get really fun. Okay, push that aside and go to the next step. It's you and her getting it on in your favorite position. I want you to be able to see both of your faces, just expressing all that ecstasy. Yes. So make sure you're seeing that both of you really are enjoying yourselves. Okay, the last slide, I want you to see the two of you getting it on in another position. That's it. How much pleasure can you feel as you look at that slide again and see that look of ecstasy on both of your faces? Boy, this is fun, isn't it? Change can be fun. Okay, here's what I want you to do next. I want you to take the first slide and imagine that you've actually got it in one hand. And in the other hand, I want you to take that last slide that you just made and take that in the other hand and fold them around so that the last slide is right next to the first slide. So now you can see the first slide right next to the last one. You've got a circular film strip, and you can imagine you just stapled or glued them together so they form a circular film strip. That's right. And just see the last one. Ooh, that juicy last one. Right next to the first one. Now, what I want you to do is turn the film strip on its side. Just rotate it so all you see is the edge of the film strip. You can't see any of the pictures, just the circle that the edges form. Okay? Now, take a moment to do that. Okay? Now, start the whole thing rotating around. And as it rotates, raise it up above your head. Raise it up above your head. Okay? And when I snap my fingers, turn it around again just for a moment so you can see those pictures for just the briefest instant, and then drop the whole thing down inside your head. Are you ready? Raise it up there. Raise it up there. And now, turn it around and drop it down inside of your head. Okay, we're almost done. Watch this. Take that film strip back out of your head again and lay it out flat so you can see all the slides. I want you to look at that first slide, and now I want you to step into it so you're actually seeing what you'd see from your own eyes if you were there. So now you're not seeing yourself, but you're seeing what you would actually see if you were there in the picture. Just take a moment to enjoy that. Now, step out of it again. I want you to look at the third slide. I want you to step into that one and see what you'd see and hear what you'd hear and feel just how good it feels to feel so confident. Okay, step out of it. Now look at the last slide, and now step into it or lie into it or sit into it, depending on what position you're in, and see what you'd see, hear what you hear, and feel what you'd feel so good now. Okay, step out of it. Come on. I know you like being there, but step on out. And now one more thing. Look at the first slide again. Step into it. But this time, when you step into it and see that girl, over one of her shoulders, I want you to see that image of the 40-foot tall, powerful you. But over her other shoulder, I want you to see the last slide from the film strip. Just do that now. And when you do that, doesn't it make it seem like you know you're going to have her, like somehow it's even already happened? Isn't that strange? Now, think for a minute about meeting and seducing a woman in that location you just rehearsed. Is there any doubt at all that you'd know exactly what to do and how to handle it? No way. So let me ask you a question. What if you picked a different location or context to rehearse every day for the next 2 to 3 weeks? What do you think that would do for your love life? Nah, you don't really want that now, do you? By the way, you may be asking yourself, wait a minute, could I maybe use these tools to make myself powerful and confident and successful in every area of my life? Nah, this stuff is only limited to women, and you can never, ever, ever use it for everything the rest of your life. Hey, of course you can. Hey, if you just take these tools and use them to be incredibly successful with women, you're a fool. The beauty is you can use them for anything. Now, for some of you, that might actually be a little threatening. I know I had a client who recently I was working with, and towards the end of the session he said, I'm a little scared by all of this. There's a part of me that feels threatened, because there's always been a part of me that's believed that things just happen to you in life and that you're at the mercy of your feelings. But if I take control like this with women, I'm not going to have any excuse anymore for not controlling myself with every area of my life. I looked at him and I said, that's right. The price you pay for being successful with women is you're going to get to be successful with everything. I know it's a lousy deal I'm giving you, but sorry, I tried my best. So let's review the steps for building a film strip. And of course, this is going to be your additional piece of homework for today. Step 1. Pick a location or context you'd like to be able to meet women comfortably and powerfully and effectively. Step 2. For the first slide, see yourself in the first logical step of meeting and seducing a woman from that location or context. Always make sure you see that powerful, confident you, and that these are slides, not movies. Is that clear? Step 3, 4, 5, and 6. However many slides you make, continue to construct slides for each logical step in the sequence of meeting and seducing her, and make the last 2 slides you and her really getting it on. You better make it good and juicy and fun, or I'm going to come after you and find you and inflict some real pain. Okay, next step. Once you've constructed all the slides, take the first slide and fold it around so it meets the last slide, so you can see them right next to each other. Now the next step. Turn the whole film strip on its side so you can just see the edge of the circle it makes and start it rotating around as you raise it up above your head. Next step. Turn it back around so you can see the pictures just for a split second and then drop it down inside your head. Next. Pull all the slides back out again. Look at the first slide and step into it so you experience what it would be like to actually be there. You see what you see, hear what you'd hear, and feel how good you'd feel. Step back out of it and do that for slide number 3 and the last slide. Finally, step back into the first slide, and as you look over the woman's shoulder on one side, see the powerful, confident you, and over the other shoulder, see the last slide in the film strip. And now realize how totally prepared you feel. Okay, so your homework for day 3 is to first of all do the homework from day 1 and day 2. So you're going to do your affirmations, okay? You're going to do your associated state rehearsal, and then you're going to build a film strip. All right? Do your homework. That concludes this side of the tape. We'll see you tomorrow. So what I want you to do now is turn the tape over and rewind it, and we'll see you on the next side for day 4. Okay, welcome to day 4. So we've shown you some pretty powerful tools so far for building up your self-image in the present and the future. We've shown you affirmations, associated state rehearsal, and building film strips. By the way, building film strips seems to be the favorite among my clients. They really like doing that one. So now let me show you about handling your past. See, I'm not a big believer in archaeology, into digging into what's kept you stuck. I do know, however, that if you just correct your present and your future, you could run into some major challenges. Because what might happen is that there are still going to be those times when you look into your past and you see all those images of the times that you've screwed it up. Now, my belief is that it's tough enough to succeed in life without having to fight yourself. I mean, you already have to fight circumstances and bad luck, so Why not rig it up so that all of your images, past, present, and future, are working together to support you getting what you want? So here's how to clean up your past. What I want you to do is think of a recent time when you blew it with a woman. Some flub or screw-up or a mistake that kept you from getting what you wanted or led you to getting what you didn't want. Maybe you didn't ask her out aggressively, or maybe you didn't go for it physically when you had the opportunity. Whatever it was. So we're just going to give you about 10 seconds of silence here to think of a mistake. And some of you can probably have that mistake leap to mind right away. Okay, so what I want you to do is think of the most recent time you made this boo-boo. Okay. Do you have it? The most recent time it occurred. Good. Now here's what I want you to do. We're going to play a game. It's the giant movie theater game. What I want you to do is I want you to see that powerful, confident, 40-foot tall image of yourself sitting in a movie theater. This is a special movie theater that can accommodate 40 feet tall people. Okay? Now, up on the movie screen, I want you to run a small black and white movie of yourself making this flub up. And I want you to watch as the 40-foot tall you watches this black and white movie. And notice, when he watches it, how he can spot where you first started to go wrong, and even come up with ideas how he would have done it differently. And just run it to the end, and when you get to the end of the movie, freeze it as a freeze-frame still picture. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is back the movie up to an hour before you ever made the flub. And now watch as that 40-foot tall you steps into the screen, and from an hour before it ever happened, watch him go through it and see him doing it right, having it turn out the way you would have wanted it to. And we'll just wait here till you're finished. We'll give you about 10, 15 seconds to finish that. Okay, now here's the next piece of this. I want you to just take a break from the movie theater for a minute. We're going to do something very interesting that you'll find very useful. So step outside of that movie theater, come back into wherever you are. I hope you're not listening in your car driving, because you're going to be in big trouble closing your eyes. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to just think of something you did 2 or 3 years ago. Could be anything. Doesn't have to be related to women. Could be the most mundane, trivial thing, anything. So just think of something you were doing 2 to 3 years ago. And as you're doing that, what I'd like you to do is to take your finger, actually really do this, take your finger and point to what direction those pictures seem to be coming from. Now, another way to think about this is, if you were to imagine your mind to be a mental movie screen, just point to where on the screen you see those images of yourself doing that thing 2 to 3 years ago. Okay, you got that? Now, where were you pointing? What's that? I can't hear you. Speak up a little bit. Okay, now, I want you to think of something you were doing an hour before you started listening to this tape today. Okay? And I want you to notice again where that picture or pictures seem to be. If you were to take your finger and point to where you see those. And finally, I want you to think of yourself doing something next month or even 6 months from now. And notice where you see those images. Again, if it helps, take your finger and point. Okay, now if you were to imagine a line stretching from your past to your present and into your future, that would be your timeline. Now, everyone is different. Some people have their past to the left or to the right. Some people have their past behind them, so they never learn from their mistakes. Everyone is organized differently. By the way, if you're experiencing a challenge in finding different locations for past, present, and future, you might try just sticking your past to the left, your present in front of you, and your future off to the right, and see how that feels. Now, don't do this if you already know the location of your past, present, and future. Keep what you have naturally. But if you don't know the way you organize things, then go ahead and try this and see how it feels. Now, here's the next piece of this, and you're doing very well following me. This is a little bit intricate, but it's very important. What I want you to do is remember the very first time you ever made this flub up or mistake, or a flub up of the similar nature to the mistake that you just corrected. Just allow yourself to go back into your past. Just float up above wherever your past is, and remember the very first time you ever did it. Now again, it doesn't have to be the exact occurrence, but a mistake of the same or similar nature. And what I want you to do is go back an hour before you ever made this flub for the very first time. And from an hour before, notice what happens as you turn and look towards the present and see the most recent time when you did it right. Because remember, we've corrected it. And now, from an hour before you first ever made this flub, watch that powerful, confident you as he goes through it, doing what he would have done. And watch it coming out right, the way you would have wanted it to. Okay. And we'll wait another 3 or 4 seconds just to give you a little bit more time to complete that. Now, what I want you to do is think of a time somewhere between the first time and the most recent time when you made that mistake. I'm willing to bet you made it more than twice. So if you can now find a time between the most recent time and that time way off in your past. And what I'd like you to do is move to an hour before that time. And now, turn and look into the past and see the very first time when you did it right, because we've corrected it. And now turn and look towards the present and see the most recent time when you did it right. And now, with a sense that you've already done it right in your past and that you will do it right in your future, go through this middle time, doing it right, seeing it come out the way you would have wanted it to. And we'll wait just a few moments for you to complete that now. Now, what I want you to do is move on into your future, wherever that is. And remember, the important thing is to step outside what you did and move on into what could be. So wherever your future might be, if it's off to the right, then move on out on that timeline to your right, wherever it might be. And go out into your future to about a month or so from now. And just imagine being an hour before being faced with this similar situation in your future. And now turn and look into your past and see these 3 examples of having done it right in the past. And now, from an hour before, turn and look to your future and watch yourself doing it right, seeing it turn out the way you want it to. And now, as you're completing that, ask yourself this question. If you stop a minute now and think again about being in the future faced with this similar situation, is there any doubt in your mind that you'll get it right, that you'll know exactly what to do? None whatsoever. Isn't that great to feel that total certainty that you now know what to do? It's a little strange, but that's fine. You see, something that you always used to flub has now become a source of tremendous power and ability and confidence. You know, the ancient alchemists spent all their time trying to change lead into gold. You've just learned to do the same thing on the inside of your mind. You see, it's not enough just to have a belief that you can learn from your mistakes. I'm sure you've probably heard that before, that there are no failures, there's only feedback, and you need to learn from things. But look, it's not enough to have a belief. You also need a tool to help you to do the learning. Beliefs without the tools to execute them are powerless. Beliefs plus tools, plus putting a little effort, yields miraculous results. Now, you might need to go back into your past and correct a few more examples. Usually 3 is all it takes to establish a new pattern, but sometimes not. Sometimes there's a series of mistakes around the same subject that you have to go back and correct. So let me give you the steps again for cleaning up your past. Step 1. Think of a recent flub up or screw up or mistake or jack foo. There are all sorts of different means of saying it. Step 2. Watch the 40-foot tall you sitting in a movie theater. And up on the screen, watch a small black and white movie of the flub from beginning to end. As you do so, notice how the 40-foot tall you can notice where you first started to go wrong and can think of how he would have done it differently. Step 3. Back the movie up to an hour before the flub ever happened and watch as the 40-foot tall you goes through it, doing it right, seeing it come out the way you would have wanted it to. Step 4. Go back into your past to an hour before the first time you ever made this kind of flub. Turn and look towards the present and see the most recent time when you did it right because you've corrected it. Step 5. Now, from an hour before the first time you ever did it, watch the 40-foot tall you running through it, doing it right, with it turning out the way you wanted it to. Step 6. Repeat steps 4 and 5, but with an experience that's between the first time and the most recent time. So you go to an hour before the middle experience, turn and look to the past and see the first time you did it right, because remember, you've corrected it, and then turn and look to the present and see the most recent time you did it right. And now, with a sense that you've already done it right in the past and will do it right in the future, go through this time, the middle time, doing it right, seeing it come out the way you'd want it to. Step 7. Move on out into your future. To an hour before a time in your future when you'll be faced with a similar situation. Turn and look to your past and see those 3 examples of your having done it right. And then turn back to the future, and from an hour before, go through it, doing it right, seeing it come out the way you'd want it to. Now, let me give you a couple of useful hints. Flub-ups can be anything. Sometimes the flub-up was just not recognizing the woman was a total waste of time, and what you should have done is just walked away. So I want to encourage you to apply this very powerful exercise to virtually every area of dealing with women. So, your homework for today, well, homework is such a nasty word. Let's try and think of something else. Your exercises for today, your doorway into power for today, your homework for today is affirmations, associated state rehearsal, build a film strip, and pick one flub and correct it. Okay, that's the end of this tape. We'll see you tomorrow on Day 5. You've been good. You're doing your homework. We appreciate it. Day 5 is going to be lots of fun. We will see you tomorrow. Welcome to Day 5. Okay, we're almost finished here. Today what I want to do is wrap up by giving you a few more tricks. They're actually pretty simple compared to what you've been learning. The exercises I've been giving you are actually pretty intricate in terms of the amount of concentration they require. So I'm glad that you've been sticking with it. I want to show you a couple of good techniques. First, I want to show you a good technique to use if you're stuck on what move to make with a particular woman. I mean, like, let's say you've got her phone number and she's kind of like resisting you and you're not sure what move to make. What you should do in that situation is just close your eyes and see that 40-foot tall you. Lean back 20 to 30 degrees and ask, what would he do in this situation? I promise you, you'll get the answer you need. And you'll find as you do the exercises more and more that those answers will almost always be the ones you start to come up with naturally, on your own, without having to even consider it. You see, when you get really good at designing and installing the programming you want, then it becomes easier and easier to figure new ways to get it running. Now let me talk about actually going out and using this stuff out in the field, about going out to a bar or a party. I want to show you some ways to really dress up your attitude so that when you hit that bar or when you hit that party, you are absolutely ready. I mean, you're going to absolutely clean up on everyone there and leave your competition in the dust. Now, here's what I'd like you to do. This is a pattern called the swish pattern. The way it works is, what I'd like you to do is, I'd like you to see an image in your mind of an absolutely, totally gorgeous, completely beautiful woman. I mean, someone who you really want right now. Okay, can you see her? And what I want you to do is make sure you just see her. You don't see yourself, you just see her. Now, over in the right-hand corner of that picture, what I'd like you to see is a small, still, black and white picture of that powerful, confident you. And what I want you to do very quickly when I snap my fingers is make that picture of the powerful, confident, sexy, aggressive you grow really big, really bright, instantaneously fast, and totally cover up that picture of her. So it's just going to go. Okay, you ready? So see that image of her, and in the lower right-hand corner, you see that little image of you, and then ready? Now open your eyes, close them again, start with that picture of her again. The lower right-hand corner, you see that image of you, ready? Open your eyes, close them again, start with that picture of her. The lower right-hand corner, you see that image of you, ready? That fast, make it really fast. One more time. Open your eyes, close them, start again with that picture of her, picture of you in the lower right-hand corner, and do it really fast. And now notice when you look at that image of the powerful, confident, sexy, aggressive you, it just seems natural that whenever you see a woman who turns you on, that image of you being powerful and confident will be instantly called to your mind. Isn't that neat? Now let me show you some more things about dressing up your attitude. See, because it doesn't make any sense to get dressed up in nice clothes and put on the cologne and clean up your car and polish your shoes and do all that stuff if you have a lousy attitude. A superior attitude is going to carry you really far. Well, let me show you something about developing that kind of attitude. What I'd like you to do is, as you're listening to this tape right now, I want you to put your head back to your shoulders, and go, ah, ooh, ee, ah. Just actually do that. I know it sounds silly, but do it. I'm going to make the engineer here do it in his head. Okay? He's doing it as he's recording this. Just go, ah. Now, here's what I'd like you to do. When you go out to a bar or a party, what I'd like you to do is imagine you're right there at a bar or a party and you see a woman in front of you. I want you to notice as that voice in your head goes, ooh, that girl needs me. I want you to literally say that. Go inside your head and go, not out loud. You're going to do this on the inside of your head. You're going to go, that girl needs me. Now, I want you to try in vain to feel nervous or frightened when you're doing that on the inside of your head. I'm telling you, this is such a simple little thing, but it is going to supercharge you. You're going to be uncontrollable. In fact, what you're probably going to have to do is build like a gear shift in your mind. I don't know if you drive a manual transmission. If you don't, if you drive an automatic, you've still probably seen a manual transmission. If you were to close your eyes right now and to imagine you've got a gear shift in your mind, it's got 4 gears, first, second, third, and fourth. So first is when you're like in slow gear, and then second, you're speeding up, then third, and then fourth is like full tilt boogie, put the pedal to the metal. As you imagine that gear shift in your mind, that gear shift will help you to know what speed to use when you approach a woman. Because remember, when you do all of this stuff, even with your confident, aggressive, sexy, she needs me attitude, you want to make sure that you do it with the proper degree of intensity. You want to make sure that that sexy, confident, powerful attitude doesn't come at her at 70 miles an hour. Okay? So if you imagine that gear shift, and imagine that your hand is on the gear shift right now in first gear. So you're approaching her. Ooh, this girl needs me. And then as she starts to respond to you more and more, you shift in the second. You're kind of speeding up the intensity of your sexiness. And then you shift to third gear. She's really turned on. And then fourth gear is close it. Go for it. Just having that metaphor of the gear shift in your mind can really help you. Because sometimes in this game, what you really need to learn is to shift down, lay back a little bit. All right. So now what I finally want to do is get into some actual scenarios for picking up women. A lot of guys have said to me, well, you know, this is very good. It's got my attitude down, but sometimes I still don't know exactly what to say. So I want to get into just giving you a few really good pickup lines that work really well. For this first line I want to give you, I actually am indebted to one of my students who I saw for a couple of private sessions. He dreamed this line, and it's worked for him fabulously. Here's what you do. You walk up to a woman in any situation. I don't care if it's at a bar, if it's at a party, if she's in a restaurant. You just walk up and you say, excuse me, I wanted to ask you a question if I could. And she'll say, okay. And you say to her, would you ever go out with a guy you met in a place like this? And her answer is always going to be, well, it depends. And that's when you say, great, my name is, and then you introduce yourself. Another really great one is to walk up to a woman and say, excuse me, can I ask you a question? And they'll usually say, okay. And you say, have you ever felt totally comfortable talking to someone you just met? And they're going to say, well, of course I have. And you say, great. As you think about that, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is. And again, you're going to get a big laugh. Plus, you're going to put her in that frame of mind where she does feel comfortable. Because anytime you ask someone the question, have you ever? What it really is not a question at all. It's a command to go inside and think of the time when you did experience that state that you've mentioned. So that's a very, very powerful technique. Now, if you want to get really corny, you can walk up to a woman. This is a favorite of mine. Whenever I'm at a party or a bar and I see a woman in a skimpy dress. Now, I don't know about you, but out here in Los Angeles, these women love to wear these tight black mini dresses that I think are probably made from maybe 2 square feet of cloth. I don't know where they get these things. They're not even made of cloth. They're made of some super spandex plastic polymer that show every curve of their body. So when I see a woman dressed like that, I'll walk up to her and I really, that kind of tone of voice will say, that is a great dress you're almost wearing. Now that always gets a laugh. They really like that. Or another thing I'll do is I'll walk up to a woman who's dressed really hot and I'll say, excuse me, have you ever heard the phrase, a body that won't quit? And she says, yeah. I'll go, yours doesn't even take a coffee break. That always gets a laugh. So what I start out with is my first gear is laughter, getting them laughing. Then second gear is I just start talking to them in a comfortable way about themselves. Third gear is I start to get them really turned on. And then the fourth gear is I close it. I go for it. I close the sale. So that's a good metaphor to have that little gear shift in your mind. Now, another good line, believe it or not, sometimes I think people must question what I say. And I don't blame you. Look, this is all a model. This is all a recipe. There isn't one recipe on how to make brownies. There are various different recipes. So you need to discard what works. No, don't discard what works. Discard what doesn't work and keep what does. Here's the thing. Another great line that I use that actually gets a laugh and has worked for me is, excuse me, has anyone ever told you you're a shining example of genetic perfection? Now, I always laugh when I say it, like I don't really believe it myself. That always gets a laugh. Invariably, they want to meet me. Now, I got to tell you something. This is also something of a numbers game. Not every woman you approach is going to want to be around you. You have to understand that basically it's an 80% no world that we live in. And, of course, this brings up my famous 80-20 rule. You know the old rule in business that 80% of your business is going to come from 20% of your customers. Actually, with women, I think it's more like a 90-10 rule, that 90% of your pleasure will come from 10% of the women you meet. So that's okay. So remember when you're out picking women up, that you just have to enjoy the process. See, part of what I'm doing by being funny and getting laughs is making the process so enjoyable that I just want to keep doing it. And also, I'm making sure that I attract the kind of woman I want to be with, which is someone who has a sense of humor. Now, let me just back up here a little bit and do the sequence of picking up a woman. So the first step is getting her attention by making her laugh, delivering some kind of line. The second step is you introduce yourself. It's very important. That brings the conversation on a personal level. So you make her laugh, you walk up and go, that's a great dress you're almost wearing. After she finishes laughing, you say, hi, my name is so-and-so. Then you start talking to her about her favorite person, herself. One of the things that I recommend you do, if you feel so inclined, is to analyze her handwriting. Again, we have the Grapho deck. That's a set of handwriting analysis cards that will make you an instant expert. Then what you do is, as you're talking to her, you want to start maybe titillating her a little bit, getting her a little bit turned on. One of the questions I like to ask a woman is, when you think about how wonderful it feels to be loved by someone you truly care for, Doesn't it make you really want to be with someone special again? Now, when I throw that question in after I've talked to her casually, that always gets her to remember a time when she really felt loved. As she remembers that time and looks at me, she begins to associate those feelings with me. So try that. Next time you're at a party at a bar, in the appropriate place in the conversation, remember, in the appropriate place. You've got to start out with the preliminaries. Throw that question in and watch her eyes light up and her state change. And the final thing is to close the deal. You always want to close the deal. So one of the things I'll say when I close the deal is I'll go, look, I think you're a really great lady. I think you deserve a chance to go out with me and discover how much fun you can have. Can you be ready Monday night at 8 o'clock? Now, notice how I'm doing that. I'm not saying I would like to take you out. I'm making it a positive benefit for her. I'm saying, hey, look, it's your advantage if you do this. That's a really good way to close it. Now, some of you may find, as you go out there with these sexy attitudes, you might actually find that she's so turned on that she doesn't want to wait for a date. She wants to get it on right there at the party or the bar. Learn to take advantage of that. If you were to imagine, just for a moment, look down and imagine there's a crisp, brand new, fresh $100 bill right there at your feet. And notice what you do on the inside of your head to make yourself reach down and grab it. Imagine the wind is about to come and blow it away forever if you don't grab it right now. I want you to actually hear a voice in your head saying, go for it, grab it, close it. Now what I'd like you to do is imagine there's that sexy woman in front of you at the party and she's like all over you. She really wants you right then and there. I want you to hear that same voice in your head saying, grab it, close it. This chick is toast. Go for it. Now, doesn't it make it seem that you absolutely will not hesitate at all, that you will close it? See, part of this game is knowing when to lay back to make her feel comfortable, and then it's also knowing when to close it when the moment is ripe. You have to have both skills. If you're not sufficiently laid back, you'll scare her off, so you never get to the closing part. If you don't know how to close it, then you wind up being the big brother, the buddy, the friend, the counselor, the therapist. You wind up dating your hand, which is not something that we want. See? And again, I want to emphasize how important the attitude is. It's such a powerful, sexy thing when you have that attitude of, this girl needs me. This girl just needs me. She doesn't know what she's missing. When you come at it from that attitude, basically the attitude is no longer, oh, please, I want you. The attitude is, hey, I've got something you want, and we both know it. Now, you want to temper that with a sense of humor, but when you come at the world with that attitude, world's your oyster, if you like oysters. Okay? Finally, what I'd like to do is to leave you with some questions, because the kind of questions you ask yourself can determine a lot of the ways you think about things. One of the questions I'd like you to ask yourself is, how can I enjoy the challenges that living this adventure will bring me? Because you see, once you start to get control over your brain, and you start to choose what you're going to experience and with whom you're going to experience it, that's when you get to step into the realm of the extraordinary. And even though I don't know you, and we probably never met, I believe you deserve that. I believe that's the birthright of every human being. And I'm immensely grateful to get to share that with you and thousands of people just like you all around the world, every single day of my life. I want to wish you that same satisfaction as you take these learnings you have and move boldly into the world with them. Let me leave you with one final thing. The Ojibwa Indians believe that dreams always have their meanings. And one of their traditions is that the night air is filled with dreams, both bad and good. They have something called the dream catcher. And what the dream catcher is it looks like a little fishing net. And when it's hung, it moves freely in the air and catches the dreams as they float by. The good dreams know the way and slip through the center hole, and they slide off the soft feathers so gently that many times the sleeper doesn't even know that he's dreaming. The bad dreams don't know the way, and they get entangled in the webbing and perish with the first light of the new day. As you begin to build a dream catcher in your mind, a dream catcher that allows you to have dreams and dream dreams, will you integrate all these learnings? Will you dream dreams of having the kind of power and confidence and success with the kind of women that you've always wanted? As you just do that, I want you to know that those dreams and making those dreams a reality are what you're entitled to. It's what you're born to enjoy. And as your unconscious now takes responsibility for dreaming those dreams at night to reinforce these learnings, I'd like to remind you that when you were a little child, the business of learning the alphabet was difficult. You learned to print an A and a B and a C. You learned to print a capital A and a small a capital B and a small b. And then, too, script and print were so different. A cursive script A looked different from a printed A. And when you printed a small b, it could be confused with a small d. Was a D a B turned sideways? Or was a B a D turned sideways? But as you learned to form mental images of those letters, you didn't realize it at the time, but it became the foundation for many adult learnings and understanding. The ability to write a letter to a friend, to read a sign, the ability to enter into agreements with other people. All of these things occurred based on that foundation of new learning. As your unconscious integrates all these new learnings that you're having, you can look forward with a sense of curiosity and excitement to seeing them manifest in your waking life. And I'd like to say to your conscious mind, thanks for getting this tape series. Please do the exercises. You'll begin to see miraculous results over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Then after about 3 weeks have gone by, what you can do is just pick maybe one day out of the week to do a refresher. Thanks a lot. I really do appreciate your faith in me. I know you're going to get wonderful results. I hope to hear from you soon. Bye-bye. Okay, welcome to the bonus side. Dun, 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 dun. Well, this is called How to Reach Through Time and Space to Find Your Ideal Dream Lover. Now, look, first I have to tell you that I don't believe in magic or any of those other occult things per se. But I have had enough strange experiences to come to the belief that people really are connected with each other all the time in ways that the material model just doesn't really account for. So what we're going to show you is a way to put yourself in a state of mind where you are already connected to everyone anyway, and then reach out and make that special contact with that special person. Now, you might be wondering how quickly this method can work, and I'm here to tell you that I've met the person I visualized the next day in less than 24 hours. I'm not kidding. This is extraordinarily powerful. It really is mind-blowing stuff. I can't promise it will be that way for you the first time out, the first time you try it, but the exercises on the other tapes in this series will help you a lot because they tend to remove any limiting beliefs that would slow down your results. And that's really what's going to determine how quickly and how powerfully you can do that, what your beliefs are. So really, this is the perfect complement and completion to the work that you've already done and to what you've already learned with this tape series. By the way, if you're cheating and skipping to this bonus side before doing the other sides, naughty, naughty, naughty. Go back, do the other stuff first, and this new stuff will work infinitely better. Okay, so here's the method. It's really quite simple. The first step is you want to get yourself in a relaxed state. Preferably you should do this before going to sleep at night, just lying in bed quietly with your eyes closed and the lights off. Unless you're afraid of the dark, in which case you've got other problems. Next, I want you to begin to think of the values you'd like to share with this special person. And by that I mean the qualities to the relationship, like adventure, a sense that you see the world in the same way, mutual enjoyment of each other's personalities, admiration, passion, whatever those qualities of the relationship might be. So remember, these aren't qualities about her. We're not thinking about that yet. So it's not she's got a sense of humor, she's this, she's that. These are the qualities that you'd like the relationship to have. And in fact, it may help you if you want to sit down and take a piece of paper and a pen and write these out and spend some time thinking about that before you actually do the exercise. That's fine too. Then, I want you to think about the qualities she will have to have in order for the relationship to bring you all the things you've just listed. So now you're going to think about the qualities that this woman is going to have. And list them by saying she is, not she will be or has to be, but she is. Remember, this person is already out there waiting to be drawn to you. And make sure you get into great detail. You might want to list the fact that she's physically attractive. You can even think about the way you want her to look. As you get into more detail, you see, it's like dialing a person's phone number. You have to get the specific digits in the right sequence to make the connection, okay? So just think about all those qualities you'd like her to have. And as you're doing that, you may actually begin to visualize her. You may get a pretty clear picture of what she looks like. That's not necessary. You may just get a general outline of what she looks like. Now, the next step is to focus on actually feeling their presence there. As you're thinking about the qualities you want her to have, and as you're maybe starting to see an image of what she looks like, maybe not, again, you don't have to see that image clearly. What you do want to do is get a sense that you can feel their presence, feeling the way you'd feel if they were already in your life. Next, start to focus on that feeling of being connected to this special person. You might feel it first in the area of your solar plexus, or your forehead, or maybe even your groin. Generally speaking, you'll feel the connection first in the area of your solar plexus. Some people refer to it as your heart area. Technically, your heart is over to the left, so I like to call it the solar plexus area. But if you want to think of it as your heart, that's fine too. As you feel that connection, in whichever of these three areas it is, imagine that there is a cord of light going from that area on your body to the area on her body. You'll even feel a click sometimes to let you know that the connection has been made in one of these areas. Usually the heart or solar plexus area is first in almost every case. Then, focus on making the connection in all three areas as you feel all three, heart or solar plexus, head, and groin, connecting with her simultaneously. This is going to give you a very strong, powerful sense of connection with her, like she's right there in the room with you almost. Take a minute to really focus on how good that feels, and to also feel a sense of real gratitude for having made the contact. You might even find yourself saying out loud, "Thank you." That's not necessary. You may feel moved to do that. Next, turn up the juice by visualizing a spiral or a coil spinning in your solar plexus area. As you visualize sending out more energy through that area, you'll find that this increases, even sometimes doubles the feeling of being connected with this person. Now, here's the next step. Imagine that you're inside her body, looking out through her eyes at you. Notice as she names the qualities about you she loves the most, and feel the love she has for you. Finally, come back to your body, feel that connection again of heart, or solar plexus as you might want to call it, head, and groin, and then thank her in advance for coming into your life. Now, don't overdo this process. Once a week will do it. What you'll find is that you get sudden urges to go to places you normally wouldn't, or to go to places that you would normally go to, but at times you normally wouldn't. You may see this as a sudden image flashing into your mind. You may hear a voice saying, "Go here." Follow these urges without hesitation, and you will be shocked at how that woman just happens to be at that place that that picture of that voice led you to. This is really mind-blowing stuff. Now, if the person you meet isn't exactly right, that's not a sign that it's a failure. That's a sign that you have to go back to the drawing board and add in new qualities to the person. For example, the first time I did this, the first day I did this, I met a girl the next day who was just like I visualized. But I forgot to add into my visualizing and the qualities that I named that she would be available for a relationship. It turned out she already had a boyfriend, but she had every other quality that I was looking for. So I had to go back in the drawing board and name that quality of her being available. Depending on your personal power, your beliefs, etc., You should meet the ideal person within 5 tries, especially in light of the fact that the other exercises in this series will have stripped away your limiting beliefs and self-image. Things should manifest quickly for you. Just be sure to build the belief that if she's not exactly right the first time, you just have to add in new qualities. Well, that's it for the bonus side. See you in the real world.